I don't know how many Dave Chappelle fans we have out there or Russell Brand viewers, but there's a statement, there's a phrase, there's a quote going around that says, "I know the system is rigged, and the reason why I know that is because I use it." Now, comment down below if you know where this is from and who said it, or at least the context of it. But for what I've been going through for the last few days, specifically the last few days, kind of aligns with this idea and this theory that I know the system is rigged because I use it. But in fact, actually, I've known this for quite some time. I've known this for years. And I don't necessarily recommend that anybody give in and succumb to, anything, any, resorting to doing things that they don't necessarily want to do, but also realizing and understanding the world that we live in, the situations that we are going to have to endure, the cards, the hands that we will be dealt, and ultimately the decision that you will choose to make to push through or else have that decision made for you. And then that outcome is out of your control. And me personally, for one, first and foremost, I want to have control over the outcome as best possible as I can. I don't always have the ability to take control, take full control, but I want to do as much as I can to prevent any other outside force from choosing my fate without me having any say, any intervention, any input whatsoever. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Long story short, usually odds are I will succeed and overcome any obstacle, any challenge that is presented. There's some simple and easy ways to accomplish that. If you guys want to know more, you know how to contact me, you know how to reach me. But I think a lot of folks out there, they find themselves in these situations and they get backed against the wall and they get put into these, they face adversity and then they kind of nut up and they just like, they don't know how to respond after that, which is more than likely going to be a growing problem in the near future. Now, that near future is actually predicted to be 2025. But in my opinion, I think that near future is going to be a whole lot sooner than 2025. And I want to share with you some information that you may have actually seen or heard about or come across or read or have actually done your own research to figure this out. But I was actually watching Redacted, and Clayton Morris and his wife and his team, they were providing this information about what's coming. And it doesn't necessarily tie in exactly to with what I just recently experienced myself personally, which I'm not going to go into detail on that on this video. But I will say that I experienced, in my opinion, what seems to be going around as what is being labeled as extreme racism and or extreme favoritism, or both. I'll leave it at that. Now, the point I'm trying to make is that moving forward, probably sooner than we expect, because we can never believe everything that we hear and only half of what we see. But there's a ton of evidence and information being presented to allow us to deduce the simple fact that we have to prepare for what is coming rapidly approaching us, that we have already seen happening and we see happening. And we should be very well aware that is going to happen again, more often, and extremely more severe than it has in the past. Think about it. We just experienced really, really cold temperatures. We saw a massive cold front hit the entire country. And every time we experience that climate change, that weather pattern, it's worse than we've ever seen before. And that's what we need to understand and realize and prepare for moving forward, is that anything and everything that we're going to experience moving forward is going to be more challenging and more difficult than we've experienced in the past. Plain and simple, my opinion. And if I'm wrong, if we prepare for future instances and future events and future occurrences and future plans to be worse than the past, and we're prepared for them, and they're not, then we're better off for it. If we assume that they're going to be the same and or less detrimental moving forward, and we prepare for that, then we are going to be under-prepared, ill-prepared, or at the worst case scenario, not prepared at all, because a lot of people are ignoring what we have been talking about, what we have been seeing and experiencing for the longest time that we should not do. Plain and simple. I attest to that. Now, folks, Bill Gates and the World Health Organization have announced when we will see the next pandemic. Previously held, they had an event. It was Event 201. It was Event 201 exercise, and it was a simulation involving a coordinated global response to an outbreak. Just months before what we experienced with the C-19 pandemic. Additionally, Dr. Anthony Fauci had warned President at the time, Donald J. Trump, that there would be a pandemic during his presidency. There was not an if, possibly, maybe. He said there will be. And coincidentally, previously, President Obama ran exercises for it during his presidency. So apparently he was probably warned and or preparing for it because he knew that it was coming. And they just got together and they are doing it again now. Who's they? I'll get to that in just a moment. And also, apparently, the U.S. government had a plan in place back in 2007 for a lockdown while waiting for vaccine response. And this was revealed on a document that was shared on Redacted's video. So go check it out if you haven't seen it already. On the letterhead of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, which banned large gatherings. It required the closing of schools and of non-essential businesses, and to institute work-from-home policies and quarantine for the exposed and the not sick. Didn't matter who you were. This was back in 2007, which at the time was already expected to be an overwhelming catastrophe on an already overburdened healthcare system. Now, fast forward to 2022. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, in conjunction with Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security and World Health Organization, just conducted the next pandemic exercise in Belgium, the catastrophic contagion event, ultimately planning for new outbreaks and new responses from pharmaceutical companies, medical healthcare industries. It included simulated news reports with a video titled "Get Ready." Get ready. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. This is touted and stamped on the video, watermarked, as a fictional scenario dated October 23rd, 2022, with predictions of a severe epidemic enterovirus respiratory syndrome, SEERS, SEERS 2025. Granted, this is a fictional scenario. Now, the reason why this is such a big deal is because obviously they're presenting to us now, today, right now, already, what they are planning to do. What they're planning to do moving forward. That if you are not paying attention to and you're ignoring the warning signs, then suit yourself. But they're also going to try to do their best to manipulate and control and direct and herd and funnel certain people and communities and groups that otherwise wouldn't necessarily be willing to accept and believe the information that's being provided to them based on past experiences. And in this video, Get Ready, they used an African-American woman sitting at a table speaking up to say that we need more than just unelected globalists involved, but we need actual world leaders involved in these pandemic discussions. Ironic that they chose this character to make that statement. Comment down below if you know what I mean. Now, what we have to remember is that it looks like the African-American female is representing a certain agenda. She's an actress, okay? This is all fictitious, according to them. This is their words, not mine. But ultimately what she does is she steps up to the plate and she shuts down the white male naysayer. It's an interesting spin that they're putting on this fictitious projection of over 1 billion cases and over 20 million deaths. And of those that survive, that manage to remain alive, they will be left with paralysis and or brain damage. Quite the spin that we're taking on this, besides, a cough, or the inability to taste food like you used to. Now, according to the UN.org, the world population in 2025, and this is according to the research that I have done, is expected to reach 8.5 billion people. So, based on my math, essentially 1 in every 8.5 people will be affected, and that is a significantly smaller portion. But 1 in every 8.5 people will be infected. However, a 0.002% of the population will be ultimately wiped out, and they will not survive. 0.002%. They used familiar faces in these dramatizations. Former CNN anchor Jean Meserve, and she states, this is her statement in the video, or her line in the script, however you want to look at it. The most successful countries will be the ones who have invested in preparedness and have trained for this year's in advance. Folks, I don't think that, perhaps maybe 2023, 2024, because they're projecting this to happen in 2025, it's not going to be about the economy. It's not going to be about inflation. It's not going to be about jobs. It's not going to be about the housing market. It's not going to be about any of that. It's going to be about getting people in line and getting them trained. It says routine planning, exercises, and drills, stating that this virus will originate in Brazil in 2025. So get ready. So perhaps maybe redacted, they were, I think, seemingly joking about your travel plans for the upcoming year or two. Go ahead and get Brazil knocked off the list before 2025 and, stay out of harm's way. But at the same time, perhaps maybe we should be paying close attention to what is going on and what is happening in countries like Brazil. Especially with this prediction being stated. Many questions have been sparked by the release of this information, like who holds these people accountable? Are these not classified as crimes against humanity? The nerve of Bill Gates, but I bet this will happen much sooner than 2025 in Brazil. And I'm of the opinion that, yes, we do need to be cognizant of the fact that whatever they tell us is, odds are it's more than likely hugely inaccurate. But in what way? Will it never happen? Will it happen worse than they predict, worse than they've planned, worse than they've strategized, worse than, sooner than later, later than sooner? Will it happen on time? So a wide array of questions here. Most importantly, how can we stop Bill Gates? Like, seriously, how can we stop Bill Gates? Is this a push for global centralized power? Is this a ploy to deliver more money to the pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson? And folks, get this, the last pandemic created 9 new billionaires. 9. I was not one of them, in case you're wondering. The amount of money and profitability there is unreal. Or maybe, just maybe, this is just a way to sell more face masks. You guys be the judge. Let me know. Comment down below. It's funny, in my opinion, how they have actors and actresses portraying members of the panel, specifically focused on those from African countries, when the African Union has already gone on record to say that they absolutely do not want to participate in the next pandemic and push for centralized power through the World Health Organization. I think the most important factor there is the fact that they said that they do not want to participate in the next pandemic because they've admitted that there will be a next pandemic. Take it for what it's worth. Funny how this fictional video specifically mentions this new pandemic targeting kids on top of the supposed African community as well, which we all know that originally when C-19 rolled out, kids and Black people were ultimately, seemingly theoretically immune from contracting this illness. It looks like they are just trying to cover all their bases on this one and increase their leverage that they apparently failed to incorporate previously with C-19. They have increased the scariness and upped their game on the fear factor, folks. This is not clickbait. This is actual factual information of what's being shared based on this event held in Belgium that Bill Gates and Melinda Gates have attended, this catastrophe contagion event. Get ready.